What's up? I'm out here in the woods like Enkidu, you know, wandering around with the beasts, with the wild beasts. And this is my grand uncle's property. My uncle Kenny, he just passed away a couple weeks ago, and he was cremated. We spread his ashes out here yesterday. But I came out here the other day just kind of exploring because there's a decent amount of wood to explore out here, and there's a spring which feeds in over there and runs through here, but then there's lots of beavers that have dammed the place up, but I'm just having fun walking around, and you really do feel closer to your creator when you're surrounded by beauty in creation. And so just walking around out here, I walked around for a long time, just enjoying it. It's an escape, kind of. You can go on like nature walks and stuff, but on like trails, it's not the same as going into a place where nobody else walks. Okay, now I say nobody else. There is a tree stand over there that somebody's been hunting here apparently, which who knows who? I'm not sure. So hopefully he's not out here watching me talk to my phone. And if he is, I'll say, get out! Leave now. Who's giving you permission to hunt on this property? But man, my Uncle Kenny lived out here, not in this area, but lived alone out here. No running water, nothing. Just that guy was like Enkidu, raised by off the milk of wild beasts. But he was a happy guy. Seemed to have a way of being alone but not being lonely. Like that old quote in Heat. Alone but not lonely. But man, Enkidu and Gilgamesh, what a dynamic duo. You feel that way with if you've ever had like a close friend that's like a brother, which is hilarious because they bond over like Enkidu is created to be like an equal match for Gilgamesh, because Gilgamesh is just like abusing his power as a king in the city. He's sounding the alarm for no reason, just to see people get scared. He's also doing a lot of rape, I'm pretty sure, and killing children. He's unstoppable. But back then, that's what you do. But, nature has a way of balancing that out. People aren't going to put up with that for too long when a tyrant starts to take advantage of his power. but he's unmatched. So the god creates Enkidu, and he's just this beast-like man. He's got long flowing hair like a woman, it says, and but he's hairy all over his body. It's like matted like a, what does it say? Matted like a wild bull. But he's just out there running with the wild deer and the lions and the tigers. And then, speaking of hunters, some hunter is out by the water hole. He's waiting to trap. He's a trapper. He's going to trap some animals, but his traps keep getting foiled by Enkidu. And he sees Enkidu, and he's just this massive behemoth of a man. You have to imagine these guys are they're like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're just massive, jacked dudes. And this guy looks like Bigfoot. You know, he's hairy all over, like matted hair, long hair like a woman, but he's massive and jacked. And this hunter is like looking at him, and he sees Enkidu like setting free traps and like coming to get some water or whatever, and he's just like 1,000-yard stare. It said that every time he came home after a day of hunting, after seeing Enkidu, it said that he was like a man that had suffered many hardships on a long journey every day. So he's just coming home and he's just like, oh, his brain's jacked up. He wasn't used to seeing that. He's like, this guy's the strongest I've ever seen. And he talks to his dad. His dad's like, well, do you want to fix the problem of this beast of a man, Enkidu? What you're going to need to do is go talk to Gilgamesh. He's the king over there, and I forget what the city name is. And you're going to want to go talk to him and have him give you a harlot, and bring the harlot to where you're trapping at. Got a little. And this guy's a wild beast, Enkidu. And he's going to see the harlot, and you're going to tell the harlot, okay, now get naked. And that old boy is going to go to town. All right, but once that happens, once the woman works her womanly art on him, he'll be tamed, and the wild beast won't want anything to do with him anymore. So he says, all right. And he goes and talks to Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh, he's been having dreams about this, actually. Gilgamesh has a lot of dreams. He's constantly dreaming. I mean, even in parts where it doesn't make sense for him to be asleep. Like, one part they go into the woods to fight Humbaba. And Humbaba's like the guardian of the woods. Which, by the way, I sure hope Humbaba is not out here with me right now. Because this guy sounds pretty scary. I wouldn't want to deal with Humbaba. Yeah, I would at least need my brother, and then maybe we could face him, but... At one point, they're like about to fight Humbaba, and he chops down a tree, and Humbaba's pissed. He's like, hey, why'd you chop down my tree? And then Gilgamesh, like you would think, is like, oh, they aggravated him, now he's gonna go fight. But then Gilgamesh is like, oh, I'm tired, better go to bed. It just falls asleep. And he has a dream. And Enkidu is always like interpreting the dreams for Gilgamesh. But anyway, back to Enkidu's origin. He goes and he talks to this trapper guy. He goes and talks to Gilgamesh, and he's like, ah, yes, I've heard of this. He sounds like a beast of a man. bring a harlot. And then it just says verbatim what the trapper's dad told him. Is like, I'm way ahead of you. And so he takes this harlot out into the wilderness by his old watering hole. And they wait for 3 days. And there's a lot of numerology in this epic. All right, number 3, there's a lot of number threes, threes, and a lot of number 7s. There's always a 7 something, 7 of something. So they're out there for 3 days, and on the 3rd day, Enkidu shows up, and the trapper says to the harlot, okay, now get naked. And she does, and the trap works, and Enkidu penetrates the soft body for 6 days and 7 nights. And after that, the beast don't want anything to do with him. He's been tamed, in a way. His brain gets rewired. Which actually reminds me, a year, how long ago was that? A while back, me and my girlfriend at the time were going to some like craft fair or something. I don't know, some BS. And there's always interesting people at these craft fairs where you're just selling a bunch of knick-knack random stuff. I guess it's like an antique thing where you bring, but you can bring stuff that you made as well. I don't know, but whatever, something to do. And so we go out there, and there's always crazy weird people at these things. At like the vendors are a lot of times crazy weird people. And so there's this guy, and the old people also, for whatever reason, when they see like a young couple walking around, they always want to talk to them. And so this guy, this oracle, he was like a madman. He was overtaken by a holy madness. And this guy was a weird guy. He was like in a wheelchair. But he was telling me, is like, hey, beware of the woman's art. She's going to rewire your brain. When you penetrate the soft body, your brain gets rewired. Amen, brother, that's true. Well, it turns out that goes all the way back to Gilgamesh. He said some other prophetic things, which is kind of scary. Like, it was very odd, this character. Who knows where he is now? Maybe it was all a dream. Maybe it didn't actually happen. I'm not making the story up. Okay, trust me. I just don't understand it yet. This guy had ascended to the 3rd heaven, though, and part of him never came back, most likely. He was telling me about like he used to live close to Area 51, you know, the place where they do where they keep the aliens and all the stuff that we don't know about. It turns out it's all in Area 51. And he lived near Area 51. He said there's all kinds of radiation out there. And the locals, they grow potatoes. And the potatoes grow up to be the size of basketballs. They're huge potatoes. Massive potatoes. I said, wow. And did you eat the potatoes? He said, yeah. I was like, do they do anything like interesting? He was like, oh, they're just really good potatoes. They're the size of basketballs. So that was interesting. Oh yeah, so Enkidu, He gets rewired. He's getting tamed and civilized after the woman, after embracing the embrace of a woman tames him. And so the woman starts to reason with him, and you got to think Enkidu is like a child. You know, he's uncultured. He's been running with the wild beasts for a while. But now he's able to understand this harlot, and she says to him, you know, you need to come back with me, and so they go and stay with these people. They're still out in the wilderness, and she's like, oh, you must eat bread and eat and drink the wine. And these are foreign concepts because he's just been used to, you know, being a wild beast raised off the milk of wild animals. So eating bread and drinking the wine, she says something. There's some line that she says like, "Eat the bread, the strong sword of man," or something like that. What does she say? I have it here. Eat bread, it is the staff of life. Drink the wine, it is the custom of the land. So he ate till he was full, and drank strong wine, 7 goblets. He became merry, his heart exulted, and his face shone. He rubbed down the matted hair of his body and anointed himself with oil. Enkidu had become a man. So then after that, the harlot is saying to him, like, you know, there's this guy Gilgamesh, he's the king of this place, and he's given some trouble to the locals, and he's like, oh, he doesn't care about the locals. He didn't want to like go save anybody. He's just like, oh, there's some strong opponent. He says something very funny in here, which I really like. So the harlot tells him about Gilgamesh, and she gives him the wisdom of man. She says, you are wise, Enkidu, and have now become like a god. I mean, reminds you a little bit of the Garden of Eden, except for in this case, the fruit of knowledge is not an actual fruit. It's actually just sex. And he says, come, woman, and take me to that holy temple, to the house of Anu and Ishtar. Ishtar is Aphrodite. And to the place where Gilgamesh lords it over the people. I will challenge him boldly. I will cry aloud in Uruk, that's the town. I am the strongest here. I have come to challenge the old order. I am he who was born in the hills. I am he who is strongest of all. But before that, the harlot tells him about Gilgamesh and says, like, hey, this is the strongest guy. He's undefeated. Nobody can kill this guy. He's practically invincible. He's 2/3 god and 1/3 man. But he actually, like, when he hears about Gilgamesh, he's like, oh, finally somebody I can relate to. Like, and so he wants to go and fight Gilgamesh, not even to like necessarily, I mean, probably just to test his mettle with him. Not even, he actually just wants a friend. He's like, ah, somebody like me? I'm gonna go fight him. See, now this is an interesting line. And now the wild creature had all fled away. Enkidu was grown weak for wisdom, Enkidu was grown weak, for wisdom was in him, and the thoughts of man were in his heart. So he's kind of going through an evolution of from beast to man, but when he makes this sort of like transfer over to becoming civilized, he loses his strength a little bit, and he can't run as fast. You know, he gets like a downgrade in power for an upgrade in wisdom, and man's thoughts were now in his heart. But when she had spoken to Enkidu, Enkidu was pleased. He longed for a comrade, for one who would understand his heart. And so he ends up going to Uruk and finding Gilgamesh. And he like, Gilgamesh is like about to go, and this is one thing that was a little confusing to me that I don't understand yet, is that he's going to have sex with the Queen of Love, which I'm not sure if that's Ishtar. I'm assuming that's Ishtar. I could be wrong, but he's about to consummate a marriage between himself, Gilgamesh, and Ishtar, I think. So he's about to go get some action in the Indoor Olympics, and Enkidu is hiding around the corner of like this, the bridal chamber, where Ishtar, or the Queen of Love, or whatever, is waiting. And he's about to round the corner, and then Enkidu just pops out, and like they start to have a tussle. They're like crushing like massive pillars and like just having a brawl. And then Gilgamesh throws Enkidu, and Enkidu's like, "Whoa, all right, you got me there. You win." And then from then on, they're just like best buds. They're like brothers, which is just, I mean, the Epic of Gilgamesh. At least in the first part, see, this is a little side quest of mine, is the Epic of Gilgamesh. Since it's kind of a short book, I'm gonna read through it in like a couple days. The main quest is Joyce, obviously, and Ulysses, but I go on side quests because Gilgamesh is just, when I read like the first like half of the book, and I'm like, oh man, this is just like a straight injection of testosterone. And Gilgamesh has the same sort of, he's thinking about the same things, very similar to Achilles in a lot of ways. He's trying to get immortality, more or less. I mean, Achilles and Gilgamesh are quite similar. And this is sort of coming to a realization of one's self, but it takes a journey, right? There's always some sort of, you got to go somewhere and go through hardships to find out who you are. And so that's just the journey motif that's in all epics, is like a journey through the world to find out something about yourself. And this is the search for immortality. And I mean, he first sets off to go kill, what's the guy's name? Humbaba, the guardian of the woods, which the sun god doesn't like. He's a purveyor of evil, and Gilgamesh is respectful to the sun god. I forget his name's like Shamuka. What's his name? Oh, Shamash. However you say his name. That's the sun. That's Apollo, basically, I guess. Yeah, one day Gilgamesh is thinking about his fate. Like, I'm fated for something. The Zeus, I forget. See, all these gods kind of have similar gods in across cultures, to which I'm not 100% sure how this happens, whether it's whether this develops, parallel with other cultures, and then they all come to roughly similar ideas about it, or if the culture kind of like spreads like a germ, these ideas spread like germs throughout culture. I'm not 100% sure. I've heard people say that would be the case, is like, these things kind of weave themselves, but it's like, where does it originally come from? I don't know. I have to do more philological research. Is that the word? Philology? I don't know if that's the right word, but stuff's really interesting. I really like it. But yeah, no, he's talking to Zeus basically, or he's thinking that Zeus, the will of Zeus is fate, and whatever their version of Zeus is, has fated him to do something. Of course, so he has to go and do it, and he has to find some way to make himself immortal. He has to do something great. So he's gonna go kill this guardian god of the woods, Humbaba. And nobody, Enkidu knows about Humbaba because he wandered in the wilderness for a long time, and he's like, oh man, that guy's real tough, But he wants to go out there and clear, chop down the trees and build an altar, so that his name will be engraved in the bricks of time. He wants people to remember him, since he knows he can't actually technically live forever. You have to impress your name on history through your actions. So that's what he's going to try to do. And that's going to take him on all kinds of different crazy journeys, which I have yet to read about. But anyways, that's probably all I have to say for now. Now I'm going to get back to reading Gilgamesh. So I hope you're having a good Sunday.